We're now going to explore various ways that we can format a document, so particularly the text in this case. So here's a document I have. I've just done a cut and paste from the internet, an article about Australia and some of its features. So if we go to the format menu option, you'll notice our usual things, so bold and italics and strike through and subscript are in there. Font size, paragraph styles, alignments. All of these features already exist up the top here, so I'm just going to run you through those very quickly. Again, we've got our zoom, so I've got it a little bit larger so you can see the text more easily. The next one across is one called the style of the font. So we can have normal text, which most things are, but I've changed this to heading 1. So heading 1 has its own predefined size and font. If I go to culture, which isn't as important, I might make that, rather than that, I might make that heading 2. So again, slightly different to the normal text, which is the rest, but still for us to look at a little bit different. Later on in a lecture, I'm going to show you how to create a table of contents, and using these different styles is extremely useful in allowing you to insert a table of contents. So there's some various options. I can come down here and actually save it as my default style, so I can change that around and use a default style or whatever technique I want. So if I want to use blue text as my default, that's possible. The next one across we have is what font we use. As I said earlier, there's a limited number that are available automatically. If you go into more fonts, you can search for some of the other obscure ones that you might use for your business. Font size, of course, we're all familiar with that. Bold, italics, underline. Text color we looked at before, and highlighting. So nothing too groundbreaking there. If we want a few more options, if we go to more, and the reason they've done this is they're trying to limit things, and also Google Docs are available on things like iPads or tablets. So rather than clutter the menu and try and put everything in one place, they've just hidden it slightly. And these things are ones that you don't use as often, but are also handy to use on occasions. So again, our indenting. The one I particularly like is clear formatting. So if I go to culture here, and just before we do that, we might make that bright pink with a yellow background or something like that. So something quite ordinary to look at visually. If I highlight that particular part and I go to clear the formatting, you'll see that it just pops back there. We don't lose our heading 2, so that particular style doesn't change, which is a very handy thing. But all the things like bold and italics and underlining or colours that we've done to the text will be removed. Often I've found that to be really useful, and it's not in many other word processors. The last thing I want to show you and talk to you about is a thing called Format Painter. It does exist in Word, and I used it very regularly in Word, and I'll just show you how it works. Let's say I've got some text here that I've made a little bit different. So the word Australia there, and I'm going to make it quite big and bright green. Well, that's the background, sorry. I'll just undo that one. So I'll just change that back to text, and I'll make my text bright green. If I want to copy that format, so if I've done something at some stage and I really like that somewhere else, particularly with things like these subheadings that I'll go through in a minute, I can go to Format Painter, and if I click on it once, you'll notice it stays sort of embedded. If I drag over something now, that will change that font to exactly the same as I've done before. So a really handy tool, one that not many people know exists in any word processor, so it's been in Word for many years. Just to show you how efficient it is, if I go on here now, and this time I'm going to double click on the paint format or Format Painter, that means it will stay on. So I can drag over population. You'll notice that it's still clicked in, and I can very quickly run through all my subheadings and highlight them to what I would like them to be. One little trick with this, don't forget to turn the thing off. So we can get carried away sometimes and just continue. So if I go and drag out something in the middle here, it would wreck it. So go back up and turn it off, and then I'm back into normal text. So some very useful things, particularly the Format Painter or Paint Format as it's called in Google Docs, is one that will save you a lot of time, and you'll find yourself using it more and more.